Hello, I'm Tam, the TamBoTC channel, and I'm here playing Elden Ring. I thought this would be an interesting topic. Let me know what you think. I talked about how my two favorite trilogies, or trilogies I find inseparable nowadays, was Lord of the Rings and Mass Effect. And you think about the series that a lot of these deprive from, and three of the biggest masters in my mind, and I'm sure a lot, that has influenced fantasy, sci-fi, and horror genres, especially come to mind, and have even influenced and bled into one another. I would say is Lord of the Rings, Dune, and Call of Cthulhu, with H.P. Lovecraft, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Frank Herbert. You can see a lot of their influences through many things. They're the equivalent of Doom, where Wolfenstein 3D is the grandfather of first-person shooters, but Doom is the daddy, is the father. And is clearly the biggest influence, as well as they even repeated that same cycle. Got a frickin' giant shooting at me now. Forgot about this asshole. But they've repeated that cycle with the 2016 Doom. And I think it's a similar thing you could argue with these three authors and how they influenced many forms of fiction throughout the years. You can see Lovecraft, for example, within so many things with just Cthulhu alone. Yet when I read the book Cthulhu, I think the statue that Cthulhu was based on was just the perception of what people could interpret, of what their mind's eye, what they wanted to see, the closest thing they wanted to see, where Cthulhu is like basically indescribable. There's not really a shape or form. People just give it a shape or form and name and such. But you can see so much of the influence, like Elden Ring has outer gods and such, and that is taken from like Lovecraftian influence, as well as Bloodborne is clearly inspired by goddamn Lovecraft stuff. So there's no doubt there. Trying to avoid this frickin' giant while I'm talking. He's just over there somewhere in the distance trying to protect this goddamn castle. And even influence from like Lord of the Rings and stuff, like Game of Thrones or other big fantasies. I probably shouldn't walk in this stuff, so I should go around. Elden Ring. There's so much that even Lord of the Rings influences, like in Elder Scrolls even, you see so much influence there. Oh, there's an armor set that I remember was found. Hell, the frickin' Sauron look is influenced a lot, like Eredine in The Witcher, clearly inspired by Sauron's armor. Frickin' Arthas the Lich King, clearly his armor is inspired by frickin' Sauron. There's a lot of inspirations. Okay, he's not shooting directly at me. He's just being a dumbass, trying to protect this castle from me. He can't do it for long. I also like this look that I have right now. It's like a freaking Viking warrior. Trying to find a way that I can get past this guy and time his freaking shots. Hello there. But yeah, there's so much that they have influenced. And you know, Star Wars was influenced by various things. I'm probably even going to mention some of the other things for later. Obviously, Doom was a big influence on Star Wars. And there's kind of like almost an interconnected tree or family tree that a lot of these come from. I probably wouldn't have Mass Effect if it wasn't for the previous sci-fis, even in between the ones I'm about to mention, that could have influenced it. Or things that are non-sci-fi even. I mean, I'll get to Star Wars once again. Alright, when are you gonna shoot your frickin' bow again? Okay, he's gonna shoot it now. He's probably gonna hit me. Yeah, he's gonna hit me. Yep. And that feeling. Why didn't I use my horse whip? See ya! There we go. And we got a gray sight. But yeah, you can see... Oh, my frickin' controller unplugged. Things are going wrong. Help. But you can see so much of the influence of these authors into other forms of media. And it goes so far that I probably wouldn't have my favorite series, Mass Effect, without, and of course there's stuff in between. Once again, I'll get to certain things with that later. But without probably Star Trek or Star Wars, and then Star Trek and Star Wars probably without Dune. This is family tree. And of course, there are even there's grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-great-grandfathers, great-great-great-grandfathers, and so on, a little over time, that influenced, of course, what I'm talking about now, the three masters of their genres. And there are other genres, like where I would probably classify something like Tom Clancy's work. He's pretty much a master of his craft of like military espionage, though you can probably even derive from stuff like James Bond and other military-esque forms of fiction and other works. But yeah, I just find it a really cool topic, and I thought of these three as the masters of their craft, from influencing stuff like The Witcher and frickin' maybe even like another master I'm about to talk to. I kind of want to keep these for later though, so I can talk about them a little bit more in detail, because I see a couple others as kind of masters of their craft. But there's always something from something else. Like Lord of the Rings is clearly influenced by a lot of mythos or legends of European myths, King Arthur, that kind of stuff. He's even translated that stuff, or Beowulf. Um, and then there's an old poem or series of short stories from a book that's like The King in Yellow, or The Yellow King, or whatever it's called, that could have potentially influenced Lovecraft. So that would be probably like the equivalent of the grandfather of that. Why is he getting closer? That's it. I'm just moving in somewhere else. He just wants to move in on me. But yeah, I always found that something, I found that just an interesting topic. And I wanted to talk about how there's other masters of their craft. Like, for example, Michael Moorcock with his book like the Hawkmoon series, or his Elric of Melibide stuff. Like, he's created an entire universe, and clearly there's been many people who have talked about how Hawkmoon is a big influence and the daddy to Warhammer 40k, and how Michael Moorcock's was even, like, people would go as far to say that was plagiarized from The Witcher, deriving from Michael Moorcock's Elric of Melibene. So he's a big influence as well. You can even take Conan the Barbarian, and there's some Lovecraftian stuff that goes into the Conan series even too. But yeah, there's a lot of series utilizing Lovecraftian stuff, whether it's a straightforward Lovecraft story or something like Call of Cthulhu or Dark Corners of the Earth or that Sinking City game I was playing, or if it's something that just has a lot of his influence, like Bloodborne. Even J.R.R. Tolkien feels like he has a bit of inspiration from Lovecraftian stuff. Okay, he finally fricked off. Even he feels like he has a lot of some influence. He's very brief about it though, but like there's a part, I think it's on page 501 in my big book of all three books, but that would be a different page in the actual book, where where Gandalf's talking about his battle with the Balrog when he returns, and he talks about these creatures in the water down at the deepest parts of the earth that even the tunnels that Durin's people do not know. Even Sauron didn't know these creatures, but they've been around for a long time, and he just called them the nameless things in the water. And some people assume it's the same creature or entity that the Watcher in the water is deprived from, which is an octopus-like Cthulhu thing that people associate with. But there's a lot. They really influenced a lot of fiction. And going back to Star Wars, what I was about to talk about, Star Wars was like influenced by three really big things. Like clearly, there's World War II. There's real life influence within it, and then you got frickin' influence from Flash Gordon, another master that has influenced stuff, sci-fi and such, and Dune. But yeah, a lot of things have come from each of these. I hate these guys. And you still see a lot of that stuff today. Hell, I'm writing books and I'm influenced by them to write that stuff, and they're such geniuses for their time. Even if some of them have like some beliefs that don't entirely, or opinions that they have that would not work for today's world, like Lovecraft, you can tell is a bit racist. Hell, his cat alone, the name of his cat alone, as well as one of his outer gods or whatever, or great ones, is frickin' using a slur. So, goddamn. But he really knew how to articulate his words and created such masterful fiction. And it's kind of like a scenario of, can you separate the art from the artist? And I think in this case, even though he's racist, I think you can. He's just so influential and has created these really powerful stories and entities and such within his universe, or universes, or whatever. And the same goes with J.R.R. Tolkien and Frank Herbert. These guys have helped to push the limits of all our favorite forms of media, and I would give a similar credit to Michael Moorcock with his Hawkmoon and Elric of Melibene, which I can't wait to read that. I'm trying to get my hands on Hawkmoon right now, by the way. Like, all I can get are like books from the library. I want to own them though. I don't want to frickin' just pick up books from the library and read them. I want to actually own the damn things. So I'm trying to do that as well. And hopefully read those sometime for the channel. That would be cool. But yeah, and you can tell I'm not very good with, like, when I was reading the Call of Cthulhu book, it was my first time reading, but I've read Lovecraftian stories before that. And the funny thing is, Cthulhu isn't even like the most powerful entity in the Lovecraft universe. I think that's Azathoth, which is a being that dreams up all of reality. And if you frickin' wake the thing up, it's like poof. You might as well be disturbing Thanos from his nap, and then you scare him by waking him up, and he accidentally snaps his finger with a gauntlet on. It's kind of like the equivalent of that. Like the fact that such a freaking tiny, insignificant thing can just poof existence in that universe is freaking crazy. And it's more like, I watched a video recently talking about how cosmic horror isn't scary, or why it's not scary, and I'm like, no, it is. Because it's the fear of the unknown, and it's very influential, and it's definitely terrifying. I think it's more of the perception of it and the, lack of understanding, you could say. That, oh, what the frick is that? I forgot about this guy. Oh, it's the Pumpkinhead dude. Should kill him. Excuse me. I want to kill you. Can you die, please? Over here. Yeah. Oh, you brought your buddy. Ow! The No. Die already. Dumbass thought. I'm trying, by the way, I'm trying to play so I can get to the DLC stuff. I'm very far away from that stuff though, so I need to get, like, unless I'm going to do the Xbox version of the DLC, which I don't know if I can do that right now until my Elgato arrives. Which I also don't know, because if I'm going to end up moving, I need to change my mailing address for that. So I'm kind of like, when am I going to get it? And how is my setup going to be there? So that might take a while. So if I I want to let you know if I do disappear for a bit, that would be why. That or I'm working on my books. But I just want to let you know. Ow. Not worth the trade, dink. Frick off. I think there's a boss. Oh, I remember the boss here. Frickin' hate this boss battle. But, anyways, that's just something I found interesting. I still think that, like, even though there's people who come out and are like, oh, The Witcher, freaking ripped off, plagiarizing, Michael Moorcock's Elric. Like, even though, like, I can see that, I still think The Witcher was able to bring something to the fantasy genre that it needed. And it's something that makes people pay attention to the fantasy genre. I mean, back in the day when they made stuff like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, Jim Henson and Neverending Story and all that, like, those are awesome movies, but not many people took fantasies that seriously or really cared for them. There's a lot of scenarios of that. But, like, I'm glad that there are games and shows and stuff that help that. There are also ones that destroy it, like the Rings of Power, and I can't wait to dump on that thing, because there is something I do want to talk about. Dumping on freaking bad Lord of the Rings stuff, which, honestly, weirdly enough, doesn't really have anything to do with Tolkien himself making those dumbass things. It's somebody else making dumbass things of his work. Utilizing his work. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk about that as well. But yeah, I see these as the three fathers of fiction. They've helped to influence sci-fis. We wouldn't have a lot of our favorite sci-fis without them. For Dune, helping stuff like Star Wars to come to existence. And of course, they have their own granddaddies. Like, I used, for example, Wolfenstein to... Oh crap, this asshole's coming after me. Oh, they're both coming after me, okay. Nope. Dink. You. Get down from there. Right now. And like I was talking about too, when I was talking about the actor who plays the king of Rohan, like obviously his kingdom was, or was it Rohan? I'm forgetting now. This is the dude that brought him to Helm's Deep. I'm forgetting names right now. But I was talking about how Jarl Bolgraf in Whiterun was obviously designed after his freaking city and his character, influenced by his character. And there's a lot of influence in Oblivion. Like, you can't tell me the Imperial City isn't just white Isengard. And then, like, the Daedric armor, the Daedric mace in that game looks like Sauron's armor and mace. The Oblivion, where the Oblivion gates lead, look like the equivalent of Mordor, hell, even down to the towers. Oh, there's towers and frickin' that have these big blue eye orbs in Wrath of the Lich King, I remember back in the day. I don't know if those still exist, they probably don't, but I remember those too. There were clearly a lot of influences to each. It's cool to see, and I saw a recent armor set that Maximilian dude picked up, and I think at the end of his third live stream video or whatever series of Elden Ring Shadow of the Erd Tree, where he found an armor set. Even he was like, "Ah, it's just straight up the Sauron armor from Lord of the Rings." Yeah, there's clearly a lot of influences or Easter eggs, whatever you want to call them, from these three masterminds. And yeah, I don't think I have much more to add. If I do, I've forgotten it. Because I'm dumb. But I always thought this was an interesting thing. I talked about the two inseparable trilogies. I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of any that come to my mind right now that aren't freaking like some of my favorites being Lord of the Rings and Mass Effect. I wouldn't have my favorite series Mass Effect if it probably wasn't eventually for Dune and then henceforth, of course, Star Wars and Star Trek. Yeah, it's freaking awesome that I do. You can clearly see a lot of their influence within each of those. I thought that would be an interesting thing to talk about. There's so much more I could go into just with Lovecraft alone. Lovecraft is like... I want to give another example too. One of my favorite scenes in a movie is the Balrog scene, and it's my favorite sequence in the book as well, of Fellowship of the Ring, where it kind of feels like a Lovecraftian thing. Like, it's this very dangerous creature that scares away all these goddamn orcs. Like, literally, they're overwhelmed, and then like this one creature is like these whatever number of orcs and goblins are like, oh, frick that. We're out. And they want like absolutely nothing to do with it. And then they're standing there. You can even see in the scene, like, as Gandalf's about to start explaining what the Balrog is, you can see, like, Legolas is trying to find a place to aim. He's like, where the frick do I aim my bow? And all you see is this light at the end of this corridor of pillars. It's almost like they don't have render distance, so he hasn't rendered in yet, no. But I love that because it's like, it doesn't take on a physical form. And then when it gets close enough to Gandalf, it takes on that physical form of frickin' a demon, a fiery demon. Even in the book, it's just described as like humanoid shape of shadow and flame. It is described to have like these shadows the span of like wings, but not necessarily that it's saying that they are wings. I mean, the thing was goddamn falling. It didn't, clearly, if it had wings, it didn't know how to frickin' use them. So I do think that's kind of a misstep more on Peter Jackson's side. But he still created a really cool thing, and he did a great job. Where I think stuff like Middle-earth, Shadow of War, and frickin' the Rings of Power show, once again, frick that show, didn't truly understand and just made it a creature that has a physical form. It's not nearly... Oh, frick. Oh, thank goodness I didn't die. Oh, well, frickin' not these slime things. I don't care about these things. Anything back here? No? Is this a dog? Oh, no, this is one of these guys. I thought it was a puppy. Sorry, I had to kill you. Oh, bad. Yeah, and like elves alone are in like every sort of fantasy as well as dwarves, though his dwarves are the most unique because I don't see any bearded women, like female dwarves in anything, like when World of Warcraft and even later Rings of Power and Dragon Age and all that, like have beardless dwarf women. I feel like that's another reason Rings of Power is so freaking stupid. Is like, you have this chance to separate yourself from other fantasy genres like The Witcher and such that have like beardless beardless female dwarves, and you go with the same goddamn thing. You just kind of blend in with all the other fantasies. You do the same goddamn thing with the elves. Now the elves are not as unique. Like, we already have like short-haired elves and other forms of fiction, whether it's EverQuest, frickin' ElfQuest, all sorts of stuff, and you go with the same goddamn thing, where most elves had like the long hair and crap. In Lord of the Rings, it's like, good job. You're just like every other fantasy. You're frickin' generic. You're genericifying Tolkien. If that's even a word, genericifying, that is. It might as well be now, thanks to you. But yeah, like I love their influences. Like some of my favorite stuff has come through it. Like I mentioned ElfQuest. I used to love EverQuest as well when I played that back in the day. And there's a lot of fans of those forms of fiction that have found their own cool channels established or theories or whatever from that deprived from a lot of this stuff. And these are the three biggest masters I can think of that helped to influence so many others. The three big, significant creators of fiction. What the hell am I hearing that's glowing? Oh, it's that thing. Hello? Oh, you're not getting away. Not letting you. I need your freaking health. Thank you, because I'm about to be coming across the boss battle soon. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video or found something interesting from it. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your comments below, and I will see you on the next video of what I do. I would love... You know what? I'm going to make the small rant right here. What the frick did they just have Shelob take the form of just a regular human woman? It's like, what? I always thought that was stupid. I just want to say that real quick. This is the dumbest, one of the dumbest things to me. Like, Shelob's this mysterious thing as well. It's just a creature in the world. Why did you have to make it a character? That's freaking stupid. Like, are you dumb? Don't answer that. You are. Who created that? Who wanted to sexualize a spider? Then again, who wants to sexualize a lot of things? I think there's going to be some people to blame that need to be put down for their crimes against humanity. God. Of course. Alright, come on. There. Okay. Anyways, you have a awesome day. Rodents be an unusual size, you say. You have an awesome day, and I will see you next time. Let me know what you thought of this video. Bye!